hard frost, middle of November. Now what do? All my plants are dead. They're brown. What do I do about the winter? Do I put them to bed? How do I put them to bed? Do I cut them all down? Do I wait until next spring and tackle it then? Is there a solution somewhere in between? Maybe. So in this series, I'm going to show you what you do with your gardens year-round, and we're going to start right here, where we are right now, middle of November, upstate New York, hard frost. I got a lot of gardens to put to bed. So if you'll follow along with me, I'll show you. There are some plants that you really don't need to do much to. In this garden right here, I've got several types of plants, but the only things you see are those two what are called Nancy's. In between there were hostas. Over here I had clematis, etc. All of that's been cut back. However, the Nancy, and not only has it been cut back, might I say, it is cut down to the ground. Done. But the Nancy, which was very large, was probably 5 times the size of what you see here, had really pretty flowers on it. Once the hard frost hit, I said, okay, well, it doesn't actually, because of where this plant is located, it's like under the eave on the side of the garage, it doesn't actually get the really nasty frost that some of the other plants get. So it will winter over just fine. What I did was I just pruned it back. I pruned it back low to the ground, left the leaf, and it may die off some more during the winter time. It's going to be covered with snow. It'll be fine. You don't have to do anything else to it. And in the meantime, you have a little bit of color here too. So that's always nice. So here we are in my yard, and I've already taken care of some of the plants that we have, but I'm going to show you what I did, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do still. So as we come down through here, this plot of land right here, this used to be a tomato garden. Obviously that's all been pulled out. It's done. But then you'll see that there's a large swath of area here beyond it. In this garden, I used to have very tall stuff. Phlox, daylilies, cleome, daisies here and there spread out. What I usually do with those, and it's already been done, is once the growing season is done, I take a lawnmower. I kid you not, I take a lawnmower, I mow the whole thing down, pick it all up in the mowing bag, throw everything in a compost pile. I even have a section where I have hosta that I have done that with. This area right in here, right behind these bushes, there were hosta in there. It's a big long row of green hosta. Mow them down. They're done. Not going to hurt them. So we move on from there, and then we're coming to some other plants that we've got. Basically, rule of thumb, if the plant is a tall plant that still has seeds, like these astilbe, I'm going to leave them. You can see that there are seeds here. The birds will eat these, so I will leave these. I'm not going to bother cutting them back. But then, if you come back here, this plant right here, I've already cut back. This was an iris. Cut it right down. It'll come back, no problem. And then in here, you'll see I have other types of lilies. Now, I cut them back probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So because we have had a little bit of warm weather intermixed with the hard frost, things are coming up and then they stop. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. In here, in all these round dirt areas, these are all hosta. Now I can't mow them down because they're in stones, so I cut them down. Cut them right down. Don't even worry about it. Get rid of them. Then we've got a rose bush. Now, I don't touch rose bushes at this time of the year. I wait until spring. I like to leave as much foliage as I can around the rose bushes. Leave the leaves in there because it's all going to protect the plant. Roses can be a little bit tender. If you're going to lose a plant during a harsh winter, you're going to lose roses, especially if we don't get snow before we get really, really cold weather. So this kind of protects them. It doesn't hurt them. They will come back. Then we have some more tall stuff. These astilbe here still have some seeds on them. You can see there's still seeds. However, this particular astilbe, notice the tops look like they're gone. That's because the deer ate them. So this one, I'm just going to cut it back. There's nothing left for the birds. Fine, we'll cut it back. Then we move on to here. This is a lily that I haven't gotten to yet. So this one, you can see, there's a mess in here. All this dead stuff, you really should cut it out of here. And I'm going to clean that out, and I'll show you how I do that. It's a pretty quick process. It sounds like a lot of work. It's really not, because everything's dead. You just want to get it out of there. More astilbe. Again, seeds, we leave it. Then you come over here, and I've got Rudbeckia here, which is a type of coneflower. And you can see there are seeds right here. And the birds will eat these seeds. So I leave them. Not a problem. It's at the back part of my yard. So even though it's a little bit unsightly, I'm not going to worry about it because I want the birds to be able to eat through the winter. There's not a whole lot of seeds this time of the year. So that's what I'm going to do. And now I'm going to show you how to go about cutting some of this stuff down. Okay. Got my pruners, got my gloves, put on the gloves. I've got an old weed bucket, nothing fancy. You don't need anything fancy to throw weeds in. And we prune as soon as I get these pruners open. So what you're going to do is just grab a handful of it. Get this bucket out of the way so you can see. Just grab a handful of it. And if it's wet like this is, you may have to give a little bit of a tug just to kind of get in there at it. It's all dead stuff. You're not hurting anything. Give it a little tug, pull it out, pop it in the weed bucket. Weed bucket. Do some more. In less than 5 minutes, you're going to have this whole thing cleaned out. And if you catch it before a rainstorm, like I didn't, it'll cut a lot easier. Now I'm not going to cut this whole thing down and bore you to death with it, but you can see what we've got. We're going to go all the way down. All the way down. Right basically to the ground. You're going to have some stalks in here. Just pull them out. They're the old lily stalks. They come right out. They're really not a big deal. If I wanted to stay here for 5 minutes and bore you to death, we'd be done with it. So, that's the lily. Okay, here we have the astilbe that the deer ate. Notice there's no seeds on top. Cut it down. It's of no use to anybody anymore. And you're going to do the same exact thing that you did with the lily. You're just cutting it down. Now what I will do, and I didn't mention this with the lily, if there are any leaves, clean them out. Just go ahead and get them right out of there. And again, you've got these stalks that the flowers were on, but you know, they prune right off. So honestly, it's easy peasy, not a big deal. Even if you have a lot of gardens, taking an afternoon a couple of times before the snow flies, and you can get your gardens cleaned out. Your plants will thank you come spring. So there you have it. That's really all there is to it. Depending on how many gardens you have. If you have a lot, I do have a lot, it generally takes me, probably 4 or 5 afternoons when it's decent out to clean them out. You know, if you only have a handful of gardens, you're looking at 1 afternoon. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it's well worth it. So, in my next video, which will be next week, I'm going to talk about pruning some of your shrubs, getting them again ready for winter and then ready for spring. Which ones do you prune? Can you still prune at this time of the year? Well, the answer is yes, but only some. So, I'll see you next time. Until then, happy gardening from Gardens Plus. I almost forgot. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to ring that bell and hit subscribe for more videos like this. See you next time.